Magandang araw! Sa video presentation na ito, mag-solve tayo ng ilang problems sa logarithmic inequalities under General Mathematics ng Senior High School. Narito ang mga problems. Number 1, what values of n satisfy the following? The logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 2 is greater than the logarithm of n squared to the base 4. At ang number 2, solve the inequality for the range of values of n. Logarithm of quantity 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 close quantity to the base 3n plus 5 is greater than 2. Huwag kalimutang i-like ang video at mag-subscribe. Ito ang Husay Sipnayan. Bago natin sagutan ang number 1, nauna sa video presentation na ito, i-discuss natin ang solving logarithmic equations and inequalities sa isang video lesson. At bilang follow-up, nag-solve pa tayo ng problems in logarithmic equations. Kung di mo pa napanood ang mga ito, ang link ay nasa description ng video. Problem number 1. What values of n satisfy the following? Logarithm of quantity n plus 1 close quantity to the base 2 is greater than logarithm of n squared to the base 4. Narito ang ating suggested solution. Dito meron tayong dalawang logarithmic expressions na magkaiba ang base. Ang nasa kaliwa ay logarithm of quantity n plus 1 to the base 2 is greater than, ang nasa kanan, logarithm of n squared to the base 4. Ang maaari nating unang gawin, i-express ang dalawang logarithmic expression sa magkaparehong base. Ang logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 2, i-express natin to the base 4. Gamit ang change of base formula, ang logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 2 ay maaari nating isulat as logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 4 over logarithm of 2 to the base 4. Ang logarithm of 2 to the base 4 sa denominator ay maaari nating i-evaluate. Gawin natin, let x be equal to logarithm of 2 to the base 4. Solve natin ang x, i-translate natin sa kanyang exponential form. Meron tayong 4 raised to x is equal to 2. Ang 4 ay 2 squared, kaya meron tayong 2 raised to 2x is equal to 2. Ang exponent ng 2 sa kanan ay 1, kaya meron tayong 2x is equal to 1 using 1-to-1 property of exponential function. Kunin natin ang value ng x, divide natin both sides by 2, ang x ay equal sa 1/2. Kung ang x ay logarithm of 2 to the base 4, ang logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 2 ngayon ay logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 4 over 1/2. I-simplify natin, ito ay magiging 2 times logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 4. Gamit ang power rule ng logarithm, ito ay logarithm of n plus 1 close quantity squared to the base 4. Maaari na tayong bumalik sa ating problem. Ibig sabihin, ang logarithm of n plus 1 to the base 2 ay logarithm of n plus 1 quantity squared to the base 4, and this is greater than logarithm of n squared to the base 4. Since pareho na ng base ang ating logarithmic expression sa dalawang side ng inequality symbol, gamit ang 1-to-1 property ng logarithmic function, meron tayong n plus 1 squared is greater than n squared. Expand natin ang nasa left-hand side. Meron tayong n squared plus 2n plus 1 is greater than n squared. Mag-subtract tayo ng n squared sa both sides. Subtraction property of inequality. Meron tayong 2n plus 1 is greater than 0. Then, meron tayong 2n is greater than negative 1 and n is greater than negative 1/2. Ibig sabihin, all values of n greater than negative 1/2 satisfies the equation. However, kung babalik tayo sa ating given, dapat ang argument ng ating logarithmic expression sa left-hand side at sa right-hand side ng inequality symbol ay greater than 0. Ibig sabihin, sa right-hand side, ang value ng n ay hindi dapat 0. Ibig sabihin, ang ating final answer, all values of n greater than negative 1/2 and n is not equal to 0. Sagutan natin ang number 2. Solve the inequality for the range of n logarithm of quantity 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 closed quantity to the base 3n plus 5 is greater than 2. Narito ang ating suggested solution. Mula sa ating given, logarithm of 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 to the base 3n plus 5 is greater than 2. I-rewrite natin sa base 10 ang left-hand side gamit ang change of base formula. Magkakaroon tayo ng logarithm of 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 over logarithm of 3n plus 5 greater than 2. Multiply natin both sides of the inequality by logarithm of 3n plus 5. Magkakaroon tayo ng logarithm of 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 is greater than 2 times the logarithm of 3n plus 5. Gamit ang power rule of logarithm sa right-hand side ng inequality, magkakaroon tayo ng logarithm of 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 is greater than the logarithm of 3n plus 5 squared. This time, meron tayong dalawang logarithmic expression sa two sides ng inequality symbol with the same base. Gamit ang 1-to-1 property of logarithmic function, meron tayong 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 is greater than 3n plus 5 squared. Gawin natin, i-expand na natin ang 3n plus 5 squared. Meron tayong 9n squared plus 30n plus 25. I-simplify natin, combining similar terms. 9n squared minus 9n squared is 0. Sa left-hand side, meron tayong 8n minus 30n. Sa right-hand side, meron tayong 25 minus 8. Simplify pa natin, meron tayong negative 22n is greater than 17. Divide natin both sides of the inequality by negative 22. Magkakaroon tayo ng n is less than negative 17 over 22. So, all values of n less than negative 17 over 22 satisfies the inequality. However, in the denominator, meron tayong logarithm of 3n plus 5 or in the original inequality, ang base natin ay 3n plus 5. Ang logarithm of 3n plus 5 must be positive. Dahil kapag ang logarithm of 3n plus 5 ay negative, ang logarithm of 9n squared plus 8n plus 8 over logarithm of 3n plus 5 ay magiging negative or less than 0, and this is not greater than 2. So, logarithm of 3n plus 5 must be greater than 0. I-translate natin sa exponential form. Meron tayong 3n plus 5 is greater than 10 raised to 0, or 3n plus 5 is greater than 1. Solve natin for n. Magkakaroon tayo ng 3n is greater than negative 4, and n is greater than negative 4/3. Ibig sabihin, ang ating final answer, all n element of the interval, negative 4/3, negative 17 over 22. Maraming salamat sa panonood. Huwag kalimutang i-like ang video at mag-subscribe. Ito ang Husay Sipnayan.